All right, so welcome and let's get started. So we just need a block. I'm not even 100% sure we need the block, but we will start sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. No point in having the block if it's way over there and you can't reach it. All right, coming onto our mat. Sitting in Sukhasana, using those arms alongside or a little behind, getting space between the vertebrae, spacing the hip sockets. Maybe a little shifting and squinging. And letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhale and exhale, arriving here in your body with yourself as you are right now at this moment. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. And let's do twice more. And then bringing the hands onto the knees. So we're going to do the ripples. If it works better for you to have your hands on the floor behind somewhere else, you can go ahead and change this. And we will lean back a little, lifting that upper chest up, arching the back. So we'll do a couple ripples very slowly first. And then arching that back forward like a cow back. And contract and rounding slowly up like the cat back. And let's do that once again, nice and slowly like that. Trying to feel every vertebrae moving all the way from the tailbone to the top of the head. And then we will do 4 times with an inhale over and an exhale up, or maybe a full breath on each part, whatever works for you, but rippling a little more quickly. Approximately 4 times. And then we'll finish up and slide those legs forward into Dandasana. And then pouring yourself forward over the legs, Paschimottanasana. Inhale and exhale, being patient and gentle with those hamstrings, extending the backs of the legs along the floor. Using that breath to gently encourage a little more length, a little more opening. Remembering to work with your body where it is right now. And then coming up. And we will change the cross of the legs. And let's ripple again. So hands on the knees, lifting the upper chest up. So maybe trying to ripple the other way. If that seems like too much thinking, just ripple. We'll do two slow again. So if we're going the other way, we lift the chest and then contract and round back into that cat back shape. And rounding forward, leading with the top of the head. And then scooping up with the upper back and arching in that cow back up and over. And again, nice and slowly feeling your way deeply through this. And then a little more quickly, about 4 times. And once again, we'll finish lifted. And then this time as we slide the legs out, sliding them out to Konasana, the angle pose. And reaching long through the backs of the legs. And then coming forward. Wherever forward is for you at this moment, maybe pushing with the hands on the legs, hands in front. Inhale and exhale, breathing out through the backs of the legs, out the heels. Will be the mirror for the moment. Let's walk our hands over toward our right leg. So maybe we're still inside the right leg, that's fine. Maybe hands are up on the right leg. And keep reaching back through that left inner thigh, left sitting bone to the floor. Breathing here. And then walking through the center over to the left. Feeling your way over there. Might not be in the same place with the hands and arms as it was on the right side. And then as we're reaching over our left leg, over toward our left leg, reaching out through that right inner thigh out the heel. And then back to the center for a few more breaths. And coming up, back up on top of those sitting bones. Inhale and exhale. And bringing the legs in, squeezing into a little ball. And let's come on to all fours. And we will extend our left leg back with the toes tucked under, pressing back into the left heel, stretching down the back of that left leg a little more. And then maybe also noticing that we're also getting a sort of stretch and opening along the front of the left hip joint as well as we really straighten the leg out. And then optional lifting that right thigh up, hover plank. And next option, scooping up the three-legged dog. Press back with the right foot, reach the left heel for the floor. And then setting the right foot down next to the left. And coming forward to the plank, setting the knees down on all fours. And let's extend our right leg back. Breathing through the back of the right leg and out the heel, and also feeling how we're getting an extension on the front of the right hip joint a little bit as well. And depending on what might be a little tight for you today, you might feel a lot on the front of the right hip joint. And next option, lifting that left leg up in the hover plank. And then next option, three-legged dog. Pressing back with the legs so it's not all just a push from those forearms. And we'll bring that left leg down to the plank. Here we are on all fours again, and we'll pull back in child's pose. Inhale and exhale. And sliding forward into the Sphinx. Pulling the elbows back, pulling back with the hands, flattening out the front of the hip joints even more along the floor. Maybe there's a little lift of the elbows coming up higher, or you could adjust your hands if you wanted to find a little bit more of a spacious cobra action here. And then coming down, and we will peel ourselves up to downward facing dog. And then through the vinyasa, any version, plank, chaturanga of some sort, maybe upward facing dog, or a small cobra, or a sphinx, and downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up. And hover plank, right knee forward, stretching that left leg and swooping the right leg back up behind you, through to the lunge. Long line from the top of the head out, that still stretching left leg, and then bringing the left knee down, and Jayasana, inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then going into the twist very deliberately, lifting arms parallel to the floor, twisting right, and a little lean forward to hook the left arm across, pull a little wider, and then bringing the right hand around to Namaste. And Namaste in the center. And we'll step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And arms down, long through the top of the head. Let's circle those shoulders. 3, 3, 2, and 1. Other direction. One more front to the back. Interlocking the fingers, lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming over, pressing out through the hands. And release the hands. Concave back, folding over. Let's step back with the left leg. And we'll come up in the warrior one. Could be the high lunge if you would rather. And feeling that little bit of inhale up the front, exhale down the back. Circle of breath. And then adding the arms into that all the way around and back up overhead. And Namaste in front and into the floor. Stepping back to the plank through the Vinyasa, any version, and downward facing dog. And let's lift our left leg. Over plank, left knee forward, stretching back through the right leg. And then swooping back up, three-legged dog, through to the lunge. Stretching back through our right leg, and then bringing the knee down. And Jayasana. Twisting to the left, step by step. Inhale and exhale, wide parallel. Hooking the right arm over, pull and twist a little more. Bringing the left hand to Namaste. Namaste in the center. And stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Arms down. And then we'll circle the shoulders. 3, 2, and 1. Another direction, 1. One more front to the back. Interlocking the fingers, lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin, and coming over. Release the hands. Concave back, halfway up. Folding over, stepping back with the right leg. And coming up in the warrior one, or it could be the high lunge. And there's our circle of breath. And then carrying the arms around with that circle of breath. How many times have I said that? And yet there's always something a little new, a little different every time as we bring the hands to Namaste in front and into the floor. Stepping back to the plank, Vinyasa. So remember, Chaturanga doesn't have to be big. And downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths here. And let's lift our right leg up. And let's add dog at the high fire hydrant. And then our hover plank knee forward and lift through to the lunge, turning to the elephant rider. Turning to the side, feet on the diagonal, pressing those knees out. Maybe a little squinging in the hips. And also tuck and extend with the tailbone there. And then straightening the legs, coming up to the 3-pointed star. Spiraling those thigh bones into the hip joints. And pressing the arms down, turning the feet to parallel. Deep breath and or adjusting your hair or clothing as needed. Warrior number 2. So I'm not the mirror anymore. Rotating the right leg out 90 degrees into the warrior 2. Inner thigh to inner knee to the center of the front. Press that left thigh back a little, and then press the tailbone forward. Flattening into the center. Dancing warrior, bring that right arm up and away. And into the triangle, Trikonasana. Spiraling the right leg up into the hip joint. Radiating out from the center. And then coming down and stepping forward and into the chair pose, Sukhasana. And we will twist to the right. We've had a similar pattern like this for a couple classes recently. And then as we bring our right hand around for that Namaste, we're going to straighten up and bring the hands to Namaste center. Reaching back with the right arm, thumbs around, draws us up to standing Namaste in front. Inhale and exhale, and let's come back over. We lift up and diving over. Concave back, folding over. Stepping back with the left leg, And we'll come back to the warrior two, the triangle, grounding that left heel down at 90 degrees, straightening the right leg, and then a little twisting to the left, maybe coming up a little higher to get everything in place, and then lengthen and deepen into your triangle. And warrior two, bending the right knee, reaching back with the left hand. Straightening up that right leg, turning the feet to parallel. Let's do the eagle arms here, right arm under. Maybe there's a little lengthen up, don't choke yourself. Take that length all the way from the base of the spine, up through the front of the body, and then through the fingertips. And then we'll come forward, reaching out. And as you come over, pulling the elbows up and rounding up, squeezing in, and release the arms. Inhale and exhale, Prasarita Padottanasana. And then turning back to the right lunge, the front of the mat. Stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, any version, and downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths here. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And sliding out to the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows through the fingertips, reaching back through the toes. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. We're not going to do any fancy add-ons here, so just breathing. Maybe there's a little bit more spaciousness, the elbows lift, or maybe you want to adjust where the hands are. And then calming down. And we will peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog, going through a vinyasa or not, maybe 2 or 3. All right, and let's do our triangle thingy around on the left, lifting the left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire. And hover plank, left knee forward. Lifting up and back. Through to the lunge. Turning to the elephant rider. Maybe a little swinging and shifting. And then straightening the legs, arms up overhead into the three-pointed star. Pressing the arms down to parallel, turning the feet to parallel. And we'll rotate the left leg out 90 degrees into the warrior two. Feeling that pull and pull from the left inner knee and the right hand, not from the left hand. And breathing here. Flattening things out. Dancing warrior, bringing that left arm up and away. And into the triangle Trikonasana. Hinging over, but also going up and out. Instead of thinking, trying to go down, we're just extending out in different directions. And then lunging down to step forward. And into Utkatasana, the chair pose. Sitting back, reaching forward. And then twisting to the left, wide arms. Shoulder blades rolling back and down and out through the sitting bone. And then we're going to come up with the hands in Namaste in front. So big reach around with the left arm. It swoops up, straighten the legs, unfold the joints. Tadasana, Samasthiti, steadiness. And then a big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. Concave back, folding over, stepping back with the right leg, and then back to the triangle, grounding that right foot down, straightening up the right leg, a little twisting to the right, maybe coming up a little extra high, and then expanding into your triangle. And warrior number two. Straighten up that left leg, feet to parallel. And eagle pose, arms, left arm under. And then thinking of lengthening up the front of the body. So maybe nothing really moves in space. You can still lengthen up the front of the body more and barely move. Or maybe you can lift up through the spine, maybe a little reach through the fingers. Make sure you can still breathe. And then reaching forward and over. Squeeze the elbows up, rounding in, and releasing the arms. Inhale and exhale. Turn back to the left lunge where we came from. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then 3 deep breaths here and downward facing dog. And coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then once again, we will slide out onto our stomach, nice and simply into the Sphinx. So we have one more set of standing to go that we're going to add various things onto that could be a little more challenging if you choose to do them. So maybe keeping this Sphinx here nice and simple. So we get a nice little back bend, but without too much strain. If you want to do something different, you could. If you feel like doing the bow pose or something, go ahead. Otherwise, here we are, Sphinxing. Sometimes the more that we feel like we want is actually inside, doesn't need anything on the outside. And then we'll finish here with our Sphinx. And making our way back up to downward facing dog. Maybe through a vinyasa or 2 or 3. All right, so we're going to add on to our 3-legged dog things. We'll be going to the warrior 2 once we're done with this, if you want to get there sooner. Let's lift our right leg up. And bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. Hover plank knee forward. Swooping back up. And then reaching the right leg down to touch the left heel with the right big toe. Reaching the right leg back up. Oh, that wasn't so hard, right? And we'll fire hydrant dog once again. And then through to the lunge. And warrior number 2. Dancing warrior. And then this time, we'll go to Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon. Though, of course, you can always use the triangle again. Or shifting the weight forward and up, the floating, balancing triangle. And then stepping down or forward to the chair pose, Sukhasana. Twisting to the right, wide arm. And then we'll reach around with the right arm to come to Namaste, standing into Tadasana. And then here we are adding on. We're going to do the tree pose into the figure four. So maybe you're fine here at the front of the mat. Maybe you're going to step off somewhere with a little, whoops, not off the screen, hopefully, support. So we're going to bring our right leg up first into the tree pose. Or bring our right leg up. We'll be doing the left later. Tree pose, Vrikshasana. And then a little bit more lift through the head as we bend the left leg, slide the right ankle across, hinging back into the figure four standing. You can keep the hands in Namaste here, or maybe reaching the arms forward like the chair pose. And setting the right foot down, springing up, big circle around with the arms and diving forward. All right, if you're not at your mat, coming back onto your mat, never need to worry about that. I'll always give you time to do that. And then we will step back into the triangle again, or we're coming back up to Ardha Chandrasana. So bend the knees, left leg goes back and or up, and we open up to the left again. And then floating the left leg down if you're in Ardha Chandrasana, and we'll all just turn down to the lunge, to step back to the plank, through the Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And so you can hold that downward facing dog for a few breaths. You can do more Vinyasas. You can come to child's pose. And then we'll do all that on the left. All right, let's all meet up in downward facing dog. And off we go, lifting the left leg up. So remember, you can go to the warrior two whenever you're ready. As we dog at the high fire hydrants. Hover plank, left knee forward. And swooping that leg back up. And then reaching the left leg down to touch the right heel. And reaching the left leg even longer to lift it back up. Dog at the high fire hydrant. And then through to the lunge. Warrior number 2. And dancing warrior. And then we could use the triangle again, or coming up in Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon. And then stepping down or forward into the chair pose, Utkatasana. And we'll twist to the left. Nice wide eyes. And then reaching around with the left arm to come up to Tadasana, Namaste, and And then we'll tree pose, lifting the left leg, maybe going somewhere for a little support. And we'll bring the left leg up. And then to the figure 4. Lift a little more, bending that right leg, slide the left heel across, pulling back in the hip joint. So feel pulling back more than going over and forward, hopefully. And you can keep the hands in Namaste here, or extend them out by the ears. And then setting that left foot down, springing up, big front body yawn, and diving over. And if you're not at the front of the mat, go in there. And a little concave back, folding over. And then we step back or lift up to the triangle or Ardha Chandrasana again. We end up opening to the right side, even though we are on our left side, as it were. It's often easier just to do the thing than to think about whether it's right or left. And then people with your leg up in the air there, setting it down. And then we'll take the low road, just turning down to the lunge, stepping back to the plank, Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And taking 3 deep breaths there in downward facing dog, or maybe an upward facing dog. And then coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And let's walk our hands over to the right diagonal. If you need to put your legs in a different shape, go ahead. And then walking the hands out to the right diagonal. Big reach along the left side, pulling that left sitting bone back and down. And then walking hands over to the left diagonal. Big reach along the right side, pulling that right sitting bone back and down. Coming back to the center. Inhale and exhale. And then coming up. Let's extract our legs. Coming up toward the front of the mat to extend the legs out in Dandasana. Coming forward and over. So we have enough room to roll down onto our back on our mat behind us. And then cooling yourself down, using whatever support you want from the arms. Landing on the floor. And if there's something else that you would really like to do or need to do, you could do that. Maybe you just need a few squinges into the Shavasana here. All right. And then when you're ready, letting those arms land somewhere, the traditional place alongside, or maybe a variation. What we want though is for our arms to be supported by the floor or by our own body if we've got our hands on the belly. So we don't need to be making effort to hold the arms. Inhaling and exhaling. Every breath letting go of the floor. And sometimes the first few breaths reveal something that needs a little adjustment or shift. But then after about 5 or 6 breaths, want to find that place of stillness and steadiness, just accepting what doesn't feel quite perfect perhaps yet, but it's no longer important. Just letting go of your body, sinking deeper inside yourself, into your breath. And then breathing back into your body, moving the fingers and toes, circling the wrists and ankles. Bend your knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming. Let's see. Stop the record. There we go.